What's up, guys? Ricky here. Do you love Most Valuable Podcasts? And are you like myself where things that you like, you just have to let people know because they've got to be on your t-shirt at all times? If you do, you're in luck because we got Most Valuable Podcast t-shirts. You've probably seen myself, Dave, Mark, Sean, Brandon. You might have seen us wearing these t-shirts in videos. The good thing is now you can get your hands on one too. How do you do so? First off, send us an email, mostvaluablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us your name, your size, your address. We will then send you an invoice through Square. That's how you'll pay for it, $22 per shirt. And then after we get the money, we will send you a great Most Valuable Podcast t-shirt for you to wear so you can tell everybody that you love listening to Most Valuable Podcast. So go check it out. The directions are also in the description. What are you waiting for? We got the shirts just for you. But Mark, let's move on into our last topic before we make our picks for the week. And we're looking at my Minnesota Vikings. And I want to ask you this, Mark.
All right.
Can Case Keenum lead the Vikings to Super Bowl LII?
All right, here's something I want to say right off the bat. I want to get this out of the way. I think this question is phrased in a bad way for you.
Okay.
The way the question is phrased, my answer is no.
Okay.
Case Keenum can't lead the Minnesota Vikings to Super Bowl LII, but the Minnesota Vikings can certainly get to Super Bowl LII
with Case Keenum as their quarterback.
Yeah, he can just happen to be the quarterback on the team when they go to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to win them a Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to lead them to a Super Bowl. We're not sitting here in Baltimore.
So you're saying we should change the phrasing of it?
No, I'm fine with it the way we have it because I want to be able to answer no to this question.
Okay.
And I do think it's an important distinction to make. Case Keenum is not leading anybody anywhere. He is doing enough, and he is doing a damn good job at enough. But he is not the guy who's going to go out there and single-handedly win it. That's a good thing because in Minnesota, you don't need to be the guy to go out there and single-handedly win it. You don't need Aaron Rodgers right now. Would you like having Aaron Rodgers? Sure, we all would. But you don't need him because
the Packers want him back, and they're not even going to make the playoffs.
This run game is great. This defense is one of the best in the NFL. This passing game is very methodical. It is a very balanced attack in the NFL, and this is something that you can win with. Now, the one thing I will kind of say about the I'm doing what you did, going back to the past topic, about the Minnesota Vikings is I do fear for Case Keenum going against top-tier playoff talent. Not saying that you guys have not played talented teams, because you have played talented teams. You've beaten talented teams. But I think when you get to the playoffs, the pressure's a little higher. I think Case Keenum, that is the time where he can start to unravel. Fortunately, Teddy Bridgewater's sitting there waiting. He's sitting there and just waiting for that one chance he gets. And I think this organization, Zimmer, he is sitting there waiting for that one mistake. And it could be this week against the Falcons. This one mistake that he can say, nope, you're gone. Teddy, you're in. I mean, the man goes out there and looks at Zimmer wrong, and he's going to say, no, you're out of here. Put Teddy in.
First off, I disagree with you on that point. I don't think Zimmer is...
The man refuses to commit. Refuses to commit to Case Keenum.
I don't think Zimmer is... I don't think that's because he's not, like, that he doesn't want Case Keenum out there. I just think it's because, of course, you're going to throw the best option out there. And right now, Case Keenum is the hot hand. And the thing that I attribute this to, and I attributed the wrong word. The thing I relate this to, and all Case Keenum needs to do in order to make this team go, and I kind of am using, like, make this team. Of course, the team is led by defense. That's what I'm getting to. The defense just needs to keep doing what they do, and Case Keenum, all he's got to do is not turn over the ball. Don't turn over the ball.
He's done a great job of that this season.
And let the defense do what it do. Let McKinnon and Murray right now run the ball. You've got two great wide receivers and Diggs, and you're feeling the Thielen because you know I am. You've got Thielen, you've got Diggs, and this is, I look at this and I go, all you have to do is basically do what Trent Dilfer did in the 2000-2001 season. And I know right away that people are going to say, but Ricky, slow that roll. I get that Ravens defense that year was phenomenal. Like, just looking at the playoff games, they held the Denver Broncos to 3 points. They then held the Titans to, 10 points they held the Titans to? I got to scroll back up for it. Yeah, held the Titans to 10 points, held the Giants to, I want to say, 7, and they held the Oakland Raiders to 3. So, obviously, that year, the defense led. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This Minnesota defense,
they could do the same thing.
They're not going to be world beaters like the Ray Lewis defense was that year, but they could do enough to get key plays, get key turnovers, key situations, turnover on downs to get the ball to Case Keenum. Because when I look at just the playoff games for Trent Dilfer in that season, you look at it and you go, the first game, 130 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Not a great stat line by any means, but didn't turn over the ball, did enough to win the game. The next game, 117 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. Didn't turn the ball over, enough to win the game. 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Turned it over once, did enough to win the game. Of course, the defense, it helps when you're only 7 to 3 points is all you're scoring. And then in the Super Bowl, 159 yards, a touchdown, no INT. So 1 INT in that playoff run.
Yeah.
And when you look at their numbers for the season, Case Keenum has more touchdowns, fewer interceptions, and a better completion percentage in a different NFL where people throw the ball more now than they did when Trent Dilfer was the quarterback of the Ravens.
He's got a great completion percentage. Most of the time he's at like 70% or higher.
He's at 66 on the year.
So he's doing a great job, you know. Case Keenum, especially right now, he's on a hot streak at the moment, you know, Washington, Rams, and then Detroit of 72, 71, 70. Now he is on Ricky's favorite word, downcline at the moment, but you know when you start at 72, you can afford to come down a little bit. Now the thing that I think is great for Case Keenum is that he doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, he had a little stretch where he was throwing an interception a game, and that's when people were hoping that Teddy would come back soon, so that way they could bench him. That hasn't happened because Teddy wasn't ready yet.
Yeah,
and now he's kind of cleaned himself up. Just the thing that I think scares me when I look at the potential, and, you know, right now the Vikings are number 1 seed, so they should be
number 2 seed.
So they still get a bye.
You forgot about the best team in the NFC, the Eagles.
Never heard of them. I do think that, you know, they still get a bye, so they potentially get to play the Eagles if they get to the NFC Championship game with the Eagles there. They can go against the Saints, Saints didn't have a great week this week, but that's a high-scoring offense.
Saints have also lost it. I know it was week 1, but the Vikings have that defense have already beaten the Saints.
Yeah.
And you know my belief on the Saints.
I do.
When they get to, I mean, Lattimore's injured right now, but I think this defense, when they get to the playoffs, I think that a Viking defense will perform better than a Saint defense in the playoff.
You also get the LA Rams, you know, potentially in the playoffs.
Already beat
There's
them.
a lot of these teams that, when you come to the playoffs, you get to play some of these tough teams. And I think that the thing that I've said before scares me about the Vikings. I know they've got a great defense. I know defense wins championships, all that good adage. Is that teams will, if a team can get ahead of the Vikings, I think they'll win. And I know that's stupid. I know that's John Madden talk. But what I'm saying is, if you can get the jump on this defense, this offense isn't going to keep up with you. If you can you got to keep going. You got to keep your foot on the acceleration here. Because if you let the defense get a hold of you and you let them frustrate you, you know, then Case Keenum and his team can put up those, you know, maybe 3 touchdowns, and that's all it takes because Minnesota's defense is really good. They're not going to let you score that many points. That's when you come in an issue. You have to jump ahead of this team. Right now, there's a lot of really high-powered offenses in the NFC. Well, I think that it can happen.
And that's why this next week, I am using this game as a simulation for if we have to play the Eagles at Philly. Now, I know that the Falcons haven't been anywhere near what the Eagles are, but there are some similarities here. High-powered offense on the road. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at it game plan. I'm not looking at it X's and O's. I'm looking
high-powered offense. I think you're being a little generous to this year's Falcons.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, look at last week. Like last week, they turned it on, and they were the Falcons of old, especially with Julio Jones. If you looked at Sean's fantasy team and how many points that he got him this week, but that's why I think this game will be a good one. And I know they played the Buccaneers last week, so I get it.
Can't get too excited.
But this will be the game. This will be one of the games where you look at and you go, okay, let's see what we can do against an offensive team like the Falcons on the road.
Your better test, I think, honestly, is against the Panthers.
Really? Cam Newton hasn't been anything special this year.
Now he has. He's been on a roll. But I think the thing is, too, is the Panthers are a team you, for a good chance, will play in the playoffs.
Okay.
There's a good chance you're going to go against
that
them.
first game we play.
Yeah. You could be against the Panthers. That's a good test. And this, fortunately for this one, it's on the road for you. Or in the playoffs, you'll probably be at home. So that one, I think, is a good one because you're playing a team you might see again.
Yeah. And it all depends.
The rest don't matter.
As of right now, I'll ask you this, hypothetical.
Yeah.
Playoff situation, Panthers at Saints. Who you got winning that game?
Panthers at Saints?
At Saints.
Probably going to pick the Saints.
How about Falcons at Rams?
Rams.
So then we would have Saints at Eagles, Rams at Vikings. So we'd get a team that we've already seen before. The thing I worry about this Viking team, and it's not like a huge worry, but okay, so we beat the Rams once before. We beat the Saints once before. Let's say we beat the Panthers in 2 weeks. We beat the Falcons in 2 weeks. If we see one of those teams for a second time in the playoffs, is a team going to get a second look at us and go, we know what to expose this time around?
It's totally possible.
Because I mean, I'm not saying the defense, like this team is going to go based off defense. That's why what I want to see, Vikings Eagles in the NFC Championship game. That's what I want to see. I want to see high-powered fly Eagles fly offense against a defensive team like the Vikings with a quarterback like Case Keenum where it's like, just do enough. Do enough to win the game. You can do some with your legs. He did it against the Lions on Thanksgiving, but he's going to do enough to win the game for you and not mess it up for your defense.
I mean, I think that your hope is totally possible. You know, I definitely think that there's a good chance we see a 1-2 battle in the NFC Championship, Eagles versus Vikings. And right now, I don't know which way I would lean. Obviously, I love that high-powered offense. They can go past anybody, and that defense is really good. The thing that I think gives the Eagles the edge over the Vikings is just the fact that they are a really good run defense.
Or that the Vikings always choke in NFC Championship games.
Well, yeah, especially if it's going to come down to a kick.
My lifetime especially.
You know, maybe you'll kick it wide left. I don't know. But
thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. The big strong point besides the defense is the run game, and that's what the Eagles can stop. That's what they are pretty much best at. At the run defense. So they're probably going to get the edge, and they're at home against the Vikings to walk into a Super Bowl, and we're going to have to hear it nonstop about the Eagles' high-powered offense, how they're the best team in the NFL. Carson Wentz is the best quarterback of all time. He's the next Tom Brady. I like Carson Wentz, but I'm just a little, and I know I'm biased because they just beat up on my team, but I'm a little sick of it. I'm a little sick of it already.
I'm going to ask you this, and I don't know the answer to it, so I don't know if you do. Have we ever had it in the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl history, that a Super Bowl has been hosted and that team made it to the Super Bowl that year?
I don't believe so, but I'm not positive.
Would the Vikings be the first one if they made the Super Bowl this year to basically be the home team and make it to the Super Bowl that's in their stadium?
I do not know an actual answer for sure, but I don't think it's happened. But like I said, I don't know the actual answer.
I want to ask you this hypothetical then. And like I said, I'm not making any predictions here with this. I just want to ask this hypothetical. If Case Keenum does enough, plays well, gets the Vikings to the Super Bowl, no matter who they play, could be the Steelers, could be the Patriots, could even be, I'll say, the Kansas City Chiefs who are on the downcline right now. But more importantly, either the Steelers or the Patriots. Would you be inclined to say, you know what, I'm going to give the Vikings not the full edge, but maybe a little bit of an edge because you're dealing with, hey, I get to go to my locker room. This is my locker. I've got the same situation. I'm basically playing a home game.
I don't think that matters to me because the Super Bowl is such a weird
such a spectacle.
Game. Yeah, and any player who's gone through it has talked about how it's so different, and like the halftime show really throws everything off. It really feels like a different game. I do want to point out it's happened twice.
Okay.
The San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams back when they played in the Rose Bowl have both done it. Candlestick being the other one.
Was that Joe Montana or was it Steve Young?
Let's see, we had Super Bowl 19 and we had Super Bowl 14. So Super Bowl curse is what this is titled under. So that's something. Maybe it's saying don't do it. But anyways, I don't think that really gives you an advantage.
Rams lost to the Steelers.
Yeah.
That year, 31. It was Super Bowl
yeah, it's called the home field curse.
Super Bowl 14 and Super Bowl, what was the other one?
29, I think.
I just wanted to pull it up really quick. Go ahead with the point. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
My point I would give just against those AFC teams because you brought it up, I would give the Vikings the edge over the Steelers. The Patriots, no, because the Patriots. I'm not going to give the edge of anyone over the Patriots. But I do think that against the Steelers, you've already beat them once. Why not? I think you guys beat them. Maybe you guys lost.
We lost to the Steelers.
Well, you get your revenge game.
With the only two losses that we have are the Steelers and, oh, don't tell me, I know this. We lost to the Steelers and the Lions because we split with the Lions this year.
Good job.
So those are our two losses. I knew I could get it once I just
that
thought
was before
about it
Case Keenum.
That was when we were, and that's the thing. Like with the Saints too. Like if we replayed the Saints, that could be a very different Saints game because the Saint team week 1, week 2 was different than the 8-game win streak that just got snapped by the LA Rams. But the one thing I will say...
To be fair, Case Keenum did play against the Lions, just not the Steelers.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about this Viking team is it's for most of the season, so it kind of feels a little ludicrous to say this, but they're playing hot football at the right time. And it looks like they're getting a full head of steam at the right time. Like, to me, ever since because the Brown game we almost lost at halftime, we were, I think, down, or it was a 1-score game.
It would have been beautiful.
Going into half,
absolutely,
but we pulled away. I would say ever since that London game, we were up huge on the Redskins. We let them come back for a closer game. The Rams game was, holding that team to 7 points. I don't know how we did it. And then the Thanksgiving game, watching that one late, I thought, I'm like, great, Matthew Stafford's going to give me a hold my arm, broken arm game moment and win the game. But it looked like that team couldn't get anything going late in the game, even when the Vikings was just giving the ball back to the Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for the Vikings. I don't necessarily, because of Case Keenum, that's the only thing that holds me off from saying this is a legitimate Super Bowl contending team. But at the same time, that defense is so good. And when you get to the playoffs, defense matters a lot.
I'm going to ask you, I got 2 final questions before we end this. The one is a fun one.
All right.
If Aaron Rodgers comes back for that Christmas weekend game on I believe that's Sunday Night Football that we're playing, or Saturday Football that we're playing the Packers. Do you think Aaron Rodgers could upend the Vikings?
No. If Aaron Rodgers... sure. If Aaron Rodgers suddenly plays, sure, he can beat the Vikings. Of course he can beat the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers can beat anybody. Can he get the Green Bay Packers into the playoffs? No.
No, I'm saying win against the Vikings in that game.
Sure, why not?
That's what I'm saying.
Of course he could.
The Packers.
He's Aaron Rodgers.
Packers are out of the playoffs.
He just as likely could pull a Tony Romo and re-break his collarbone.
True.
you know, anything can happen.
Second question. This one will end it for us here before we make our picks.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with Case Keenum? Do you think, A, he plays the entire season, whether it ends in a Super Bowl win or a playoff loss, or 2, he gets benched at some point and we see Teddy Bridgewater this season?
I feel in my heart of hearts 100% that he will be benched at some point in the season. Even if you guys go to the Super Bowl and lose the Super Bowl, he will get benched, even if it's that last play.
Just so Teddy's out there in the Super Bowl?
At some point, Teddy Bridgewater will make his time. I think that if it gets shown that we're about to lose this game, he's out, Teddy's in. Because if Zimmer was going to be committed to Case Keenum, he would go out there and he would say it. And it's just that simple to me. And I understand the hot hand, and I understand that he's going to put whoever's out there to win. That's fine. You can do that. But you don't be so non-committal to Case Keenum without playing your hand of the first chance I get, I'm benching this kid.
I don't know how many games we win the rest of the year because, like I said, the next 2 are going to be tough. I think we got at least 3 in us. Bengals, Bears, and Packers, I think, are all wins. It's these next 2. I think really it's the next 1, but I'll give you the Panthers just to make you happy, Mark.
Hey, it's a home game for the Panthers.
What I think will happen is right now, if I have to make a prediction, I'm going to go Case Keenum plays the entire season. We don't see Teddy at all. And right now, I'm going to say Vikings lose to the Eagles in Philly.
That's
NFC
a
Championship
fair one.
weekend. That's what I see right now. That could change, though, by the time we get.
Is it because of a missed field goal?
Sure. I mean, you go either way. You can go.
I mean, history suggests it probably will be a loss because of a missed field goal.
It could. It could very well be that. But that's what I see right now. The Eagles are the only team in the NFL right now that I don't want to say scare me.
But they should scare you.
But let's be honest, they kind of scare me. And the one thing I'm looking at is, yes, I had to look up. I thought I was right, but it could either end in 2 ways in my lifetime. Either a missed field goal or the one that really sits at me because I was 11 years old when it happened. That Giant team that lost to Trent, and this is bringing it full circle now, that Giant team that lost to Trent Dilfer in the Super Bowl, really lost to the defense, but I'm going to say Trent Dilfer. Who did they beat in the NFC Championship game?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
The Vikings. Do you remember the score?
Like I said, it was a long time ago.
41-0.
Oh, beautiful.
That was the Dante Culpepper rollout Vikings too. I was so excited as an 11-year-old. My team's going to the Super Bowl. They got blown out. So this is where I turn it on to you guys though. Before I start crying here on the video, you guys let Mark know. What do you guys think? Can Case Keenum help this team? I'm going to phrase it here. Help. Lead is different. Help this team get to Super Bowl.
He ain't leading shit.
And number 2, how long do you think Case Keenum? Did he play the entire season? Do we see Teddy Bridgewater? What do you guys think down below in the comment section?